I'll officially say hello to you and welcome you not only to this morning with contemplative writing, but to this whole series of writing. And August is when I'm on vacation, and I'm even going to read you a poem about vacation. Well, Katerina's going to read it. But it's a wonderful time to think about writing, because in vacation you can slow down, and so I really look forward to this series. I think we didn't do it last year, but we did it the year before. Okay, let's take a couple of breaths together. And feel ourselves in this gathering, in this space, from all over. Several of us are gathering around this table, coming from a storm, and we're going to turn our attention to what we mean by contemplative writing. I love the word contemplative because it's a word that has so much to do with the combining of attention and intention, letting go, and also following. It has all of that in it. So the writing that we're going to do this morning has to do with sort of letting go into the moment and letting something come through us, being a kind of channel, and at the same time following what comes through us, looking for something, being ready to receive it like a gigantic ball game, and being ready to receive this ball that's being thrown to us from the universe. A word that I have not liked at all is the word blessing. And I had a prejudice against the word blessing. You know, we have personal relationships with words, right? Words are not neutral for us, at least most of them, but we have a history with words. And the word blessing in my childhood was used, I can't even tell you how it was used, but it didn't feel real or sincere, or it felt like a shibboleth. Those of you who aren't from, English isn't your first language, a shibboleth is like a word that you have to use to show that you belong to a certain community. I think it came from the Old Testament, where if the people didn't say the word shibboleth in the strict way, they were known to be strangers and they were kicked out. But there's a lot of that in our contemporary society. So blessing was sort of like that. But then when I came upon John O'Donohue, the word blessing took on a completely different understanding, and it opened it up. And as most of you know, John O'Donohue is one of my favorite poets. And the other very favorite person of mine is Brother David Steindl-Rast. And Joan Claxburn sent me a book that I love of 100 blessings of his, and I made a little video of one, and I'll have us play it at the end. But Brother David, Brother David's book is picking out all kinds of things in the day. And I think he wrote a blessing a day for 100 days. And I love that idea. So a blessing is something that is both anticipated and asked for. And it's also something that's invoked. We're bringing it out. We're receiving it. So it has that complexity in it. So I'll have Pauline read what John O'Donohue says about blessing now, and you could just sort of take it in as our attunement this morning.
So I found these few words, and there's lots of words around about John O'Donohue and his where he's coming from with the ordinary language. So from the book To Bless the Space Between Us, and it's his book of blessings, a salute to blessings as a way of life and a source of meaning, beauty, wonder, grace, healing, and transformation. A blessing breaks down the barriers between people and is the ultimate form of intimacy. It changed the environment around us and opens up new possibilities of connection, healing, and transformation. And John O'Donohue laments that in the West, we have no rituals to protect, encourage, and to guide us as we cross over into the unknown.
Yes, it's beautiful. He also says there that the word may is often used in blessings. May I, so that it's putting oneself in alignment with the big mystery. It's both appreciating it and also a hope, a request to be in alignment with it. So maybe I'll have Katerina read a couple of my blessings as examples for this, and then I'll give you a little outline of how I go about writing blessings. It feels very intimate to me to share my blessings with you. They weren't really meant to be shared. They're sort of my journal writings. But in our little gathering, in our little community, it feels right to take that step of sharing it with you. I'm going to pair these blessings with my paintings, and I'll send that to you, the paintings that go with the blessings. And mostly I write them early in the morning, and I'll be thinking about something. And then in that wonderful focusing way, I'll say, well, what is that, this thing? I think the first one I'm going to have Katerina read you is about conflict. And I was being so bewildered and riled up and mystified and upset and angry about the conflicts in my life. And then I thought, well, what is conflict, and why is that here? And I wrote that blessing. And then there's one about vacation and the sort of mystery of what vacation really means. When I was a young person, I didn't understand what a vacation was.
Right here.
Oh,
for some reason.
I think we have someone unmuted. Okay, let's just take these poems in, and then I'll give you some pointers about writing in this way.
So, which one would you like me to read?
Why don't you read the one about conflict first? I have that first on the page.
So, conflict, source of all blessings.
Oh, let me just explain that. Brother David starts his blessings with source of all blessings, which I like that we're not naming this big mystery. We're addressing it as the source of all, it's the source of all everything, right? And Brother David is writing to that. Go ahead, Katerina.
Source of all blessings, you bless us with conflict, both within us and between us. It wakes us up to dimensions of our experience and of ourselves that would otherwise go happily unnoticed. It raises our hackles, grips us with angst, haunts us, demanding encounter, captivating our attention, permeating our bodies. It makes us care, seeping into the hidden places in our lives and psyches. It is the squeezing, pushing, and pulling, the thrusting insistence of birth. May I learn to find respect, equanimity, and trust in the conflicts that challenge my serenity.
Just see if you'd like to say something, just sentence or a few words about what comes to you in that blessing for conflict.
Word that comes up for me is permission.
Yeah.
First, I thought it was so beautiful. I guess the word would be invitation.
Mm. Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. You can sort of see that, I went into writing this, which I'd like to say something, but I'm not sure how to say it. And maybe some of you will know better how to say it. It's like focusing, right? You let go into, you let it come. But then there's another part to it that opens it up further, sort of like Dana and Baruch's idea of the field of prayer, where then you're seeing it from a different view, from that place, that bigger place. And you're surprised by it, what comes. But that's true in focusing too, that we're surprised by what comes. So I went from being very, very jangled and conflicted to this place about appreciating it and seeing it a different way. Let's read the next one about.
Can I just say something here?
Oh, yes, please.
First of all, I'm really struggling to hear you well. Your sound is very low, and then if somebody else speaks, it's much louder, almost like jarringly loud. So that makes it difficult for me to stay with it.
Yes.
And I may have missed something in because I also have a reaction to the word blessing. And
Yes.
so I may have missed something that you said about it, why you're using that word, or how that helps you write what you're writing.
Yes. Yes.
And what I'm getting from your writing is appreciation,
Mhm.
appreciation for nuances.
Yes.
But I'm still, again, struggling with the word blessing, and,
Yes. Yes.
and struggling to hear you without
Yes.
straining to
Yes.
hear you
How is it now, Robert? Do you hear me better?
better. Yeah,
I brought the computer closer to me. It's a very old computer.
thank you.
And I'll try speaking up. And the word blessing, I have had a very hard time with that word too. But rather than struggling with the word, you could just put it aside. I'm taking my lead from John O'Donohue. So that's why I'm using that word in his way. So sometimes we can have the conflicts with the words, and the conflicts aren't even with the ideas or even with the many parts of the tradition, but with the words. So this word is not my word, although I've sort of adopted it, but I wouldn't use it in ordinary language. It's for me a kind of a poem. Okay, let's read the second one about vacation.
Vacation. Source of all blessings, you bless us with vacation. Subversive, transgressive art of purposelessness. Hours of sanctioned doing nothing. Days of guiltless enjoyment, receptivity, and pleasure. Relaxing into timeless time. May I look deeply into the face of rest, taking in her gaze, answering her call, finding her heartbeat. May I breathe and stretch, melting into play, leaning into life, just as it presents itself, moment by each rising moment.
Any words that come to you?
I'd like to hear it again, if that's okay. There were just some parts that were just beautiful. I'd like to, if it's okay with the group, to hear it once more.
Sure. Read
Vacation.
it so beautifully, Katerina.
Vacation. Source of all blessings, you bless us with vacation. Subversive, transgressive art of purposelessness. Hours of sanctioned doing nothing. Days of guiltless enjoyment, receptivity, and pleasure. Relaxing into timeless time. May I look deeply into the face of rest, taking in her gaze, answering her call, finding her heartbeat. May I breathe and stretch, melting into play, leaning into life just as it presents itself, moment by each surprising moment.
Thank you, Katerina.
Lynn, this is Nati. First of all, thank you for sharing your blessings with us. This is so beautiful. And about this, the whole sense of this blessing is, for me, just about life. The phrase leaning into life. And before I wrote something, answering her call, finding her heartbeat, melting into play also. It's like just allowing myself to just be when we are so much into doing and having to and the shoots. So it was just beautiful to, like, I felt I could lean into that.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. When I heard it, of course I wrote it, but I hadn't remembered those lines that you just quoted, and I thought, oh yes, and it sort of brought it back to me. Okay, we have one more because we want you to write yours. We have one more, and to me, this is a political blessing, but it came from my frustration with my garden. Okay, Katerina?
You bless us with plans.
What's that?
Is that the one you'd like?
No, not the plants, but the weeds.
The weeds.
Blessing for weeds. Yes.
Weeds. Source of all blessing, you bless us with weeds. Relentless, determined plant lives that pushed their way uninvited into our carefully planned borders, wreaking havoc in our intentional gardens. We try our best to defeat them, but they refuse to surrender. Lusting for life, they demand a home, pressing their way into any soil they can find. May I learn from them to let life push through me, planting me where it chooses, not only where I have been invited to grow. May I recognize that there is a larger garden that cannot be encompassed by my fences. And in the end, I am not only a gardener, I am also a small seed tossed into the ongoing, predictable landscape of life.
Okay, does anybody have anything about that?
I was really touched by the fact that I think I heard you say it was something about your daughter. Was it?
No,
No? Oh, okay.
but what did you hear? Because maybe that should have been there.
Computer.
It just struck me because I had had a conflict situation with my daughter, and it just spoke to me so deeply. So thank you.
Oh, good, good. This one about weeds, I think that if you tried to plant a garden, you would sort of know more the feeling of these weeds that are so determined, you know, and you can't get rid of them. They are stronger than we are, and they have a lot to teach us.
Well, I have to say, just yesterday, I read an article on all the weeds in our backyards and gardens that are edible
Oh,
and different, and how they can be beautiful, some of them. So just read that yesterday.
oh, that fits right in.
People all over the world eat weeds, right?
Mm. Yes, I particularly liked this blessing because it changed my view of weeds, and the one about conflict changed my view about conflict. So I think that's part of what what this contemplative writing does. It helps us to see other dimensions. So the way that I could lead you into this is first just the settling that we do in focusing, coming into our bodies and just feeling what's there, feeling where our attention is naturally going. That would be stage one. Stage two is to sort of enter that realm, whatever came to us. And sort of like Alice in Wonderland, looking around this room or this dimension, and letting yourself be surprised by it, looking at it in a new way, being open to it, and then just jotting down the words or phrases that come to you about it. So that is the beginning of the writing part, where you're just writing those words or phrases or description. And then the third part is this may I part, this request, this hope, this intention. May I, and see how that sentence goes. Just say, may I, and then see what comes of how you would be in alignment with this. And then the last part is to read it over to yourself as if somebody else wrote it, and just see what it brings. If you want to take out part, you can, or something else that comes to you. But it's not about creating a beautiful poem. It's about the contemplative state of this writing. Okay, are there any questions or thoughts, or this is the part that's open to everybody. And of course, like everything in focusing, if the word blessing gets in your way, throw it out. If the form gets in your way, disregard it. We're going to have 10 minutes to write it.
Lynn? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alistair.
Yeah, just wanted to ask Lynn if Lynn, could you put the steps in the chat, please? Please do. If it's not too difficult.
Would somebody else do that, Christine or Katerina? The first step is settling. The second step, the first step is settling and seeing where your attention goes. The second step is looking around there, being interested in it like a fresh experience from another world. We want to put that, exploring it would be the second one. The third is your intention, may I. And the fourth is reading it over and receiving it and changing it in any way that you want, but not working on it. It's just if something strikes you as wrong, just cross it out, or something needs to be put in, but don't really work on it. Is that okay? A shortened version?
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you, Christine.
Lynn, this is the BJ.
Hi, BJ.
Hey, thank you so much. Those are beautiful ways to begin to put oneself in that place, that capacity to imagine being blessed, whatever that means. I just want to say I'm struggling to make a bridge, having heard Robert's saying that he struggled with that word. Several people have gotten in touch with me who, from the time before when I spoke, who are so embroiled in that messiness of religious words, and knowing it's all just a human capacity that's been laid on, a human capacity for an experience that's laid on those words. And I'm gonna just put my email address in this in the chat. And if there are any of you that are interested in joining us, that just to have a place for that struggling spot to be heard, I would be glad to add you to my list. We're figuring out how we might find a Zoom way to do that. So, please, apologies if I've distracted anybody, but for me, I'm going to be reflecting on the blessing of that struggle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So thank you.
Wonderful.
I'm wondering if the finding another world needs to be a step in this process for some of us.
Yes.
Without, so it's not all about the struggle with the world.
Yes. I think you could just put it aside, like Jean says, just put it aside.
But I think just putting it aside, I think it needs, we need to find another world, not just putting it aside.
Yes, because that human capacity is so important. And so if you have a better word or want to find a great, right. Robert, I love that.
Right. Yeah, I didn't mean putting the whole thing aside. I meant putting that word aside.
I think it's not just the word. It's words are spoken by people and they're used by institutions. We are interaction, and ultimately it's really not about the word. It's about an assertion of a certain way of thinking, and it's about people in my opinion. So
I think for me, it was about the people in my childhood, and the little church that I went to. Some things were wonderful that I was introduced to, and some things were very hypocritical and anyway. I don't want to think of those words right now because
I wanted to I want to get this out so it doesn't come in my writing. I want to get it out first, that it brought out the oppositional child in me, and I thought, I'm going to write a curse.
It does.
That's the opposite of a blessing. Right?
That's great, Liz.
Again, let's go right into, well, let me just, let's go right into writing, and we're going to give you 10 minutes, and whatever it is that comes to you, write that, and then we'll go into breakout rooms and either read your poem to the other person, or maybe we'll have 3 people. Should we have 3 people or 2 people? I think we'll have 2 people. There'll be more time, but there is something nice about a small group. Okay, we'll have 3 people, and then we'll come back. But let me give you the time for the 10 minutes of writing, and you can turn your camera off or stay here, or however you want to do it. And Christine will time us, and we'll come back together in 10 minutes, and then go into our breakout rooms. Okay? Are we set for that? Does anybody have anything to say before we do that? Okay. Enjoy your 10 minutes of writing. Okay. I got you on my iPad. Can people see me?
yes.
Okay. And you can hear me? Good. Okay. So, do we have any comments or thoughts about that experience that you just had of writing?
Something in me feels some relief, some relief, and also like kind of a little bit of joy in having made it something.
Wonderful. Did anybody have a real struggle with letting yourself write from that place?
I had a huge struggle. I thought I had to be somebody else. And
Oh,
then I realized that I could be myself, and I wrote something that was from me, and not some
great.
made up person who writes blessings.
Good for you. Anybody else?
I just noticed that a sense of irritation and that's, you couldn't really get much beyond a sense of early morning irritation. Like maybe I'd rather still be in bed.
Uh-huh. Well, the trouble that I'm having with the Wi-Fi probably doesn't, sort of adds to that.
No, yeah, but I don't think, I think it's just where I'm at. So I just,
Mhm.
I just needed to just settle into the fact that that's what was it, a certain
Yeah.
irritation.
There would be something wonderful about writing about irritation, what irritation is.
Right, I didn't get that far.
Right.
But
Okay.
yes, I think if I stayed with it longer, it would
Yes.
evolved as it
Yes.
always does.
Yeah. Yeah. We know that through focusing